Hey folks, back in the game here. In this video, we're going to talk about comps. I've split the video up into 5 sections. We're going to go through the definition of comps, where you can look up comps, the pricing on different platforms and the differences, negotiating, and my final thoughts. So the first thing I want to talk about is comp definition. When I came back into the sports card world, one of the first things that I heard was the word comps. What are the comps on that? Let's comp it out. All sorts of different ways to say that. But what people mean is a comp is a comparable sale for the same or a similar card. You're going to want to compare raw cards to raw cards, PSA to PSA, the same grade to the same grade, SGC to SGC, etc. In most cases, the more recent the comp, the better. Comps are important because they can give you a price at which someone might expect to purchase or sell a card. When I was a kid, the Beckett magazine was king. That's how you knew how much your card was worth. You would simply look it up. If you've never seen the inside of a Beckett magazine, it's got listed by years and sets, and there's a low and a high price, and the idea behind it was that Beckett representatives were going around to card shows and card shops, and they were putting in the lowest prices they've seen and the highest prices they've seen, essentially. What it ended up being, for my shops, in my local area, I grew up in a, a, a rural state, with not a lot of card shops, so I don't know if this was like that everywhere. But essentially, what it was is that most of the card shop owners would buy your cards at the low price and sell them at the high price. It was fairly standard in my area. Again, I don't know if that's the case everywhere, but that was pretty much how it went. Um, it was cool because you had something to look forward to every month, checking those prices. Right? It's not instant like it is today. Everything's instant today. I know I sound like an old man yelling into the clouds, but everything's instant, and there's no waiting and any anticipation for things like this anymore. I'm not sure if that's it's necessarily bad that there's no waiting for it. I just think it's interesting that that's a one of my memories from childhood. Um, Beckett is Beckett still publishes the magazines. I picked one up right when I came back into the hobby, and there's you know it's a month old information. It's got very very little information in it. It doesn't really list the parallels very well. It's just an odd thing. I think they just keep it going for nostalgia reasons. Beckett does have some sort of pricing on their website. I think I've never looked into it. It's not something I'm really interested in. I don't particularly um I don't particularly like Beckett in the modern card sense, just because I don't find their slabs attractive, and that's simply a personal opinion. Let me show you here. Um, if you've never seen one, but I don't find them I don't find them attractive, so that sort of shades my view of the company. So anyway, here's what one looks like. I think I don't know. For some reason, PSA looks best to me. I get that that's a kind of controversial opinion. I think most people prefer the way SGC slabs work, but begrudgingly go with PSA because it's the hobby standard for pricing, and you're going to get more for a card in the same grade between the two companies. At any rate, that was a little bit of a divergence. So Beckett is not relevant in sports card pricing today. All right, so who's the go-to for comps today? It's eBay. eBay is the king of pricing, good or bad. That's what most people will use for comps. However, so you can go to eBay search feature. So you're going to click in, whatever keyword you want, and then you're going to go down here and click sold items, and you're going to hit search. So this is called eBay sold, and this will show all of these cards that have sold of this card lately. The problem with eBay search, and probably the reason that a lot of these other websites exist, is that if you see right here, this is a buy it now price on this one that sold on July 12th. It was a buy it now price for $24, except they accepted the best offer. Problem with that is you don't know what offer they accepted. I have absolutely no idea why eBay doesn't display that. But um, the other sites I'm going to show you do display that, and I haven't, I don't know what the mechanics behind it is that they're able to tell, and eBay is not willing to show. So while eBay comps are what people use, they don't generally get them through eBay. They get them through several sites. The first one, probably the most important to many people because it's free, is 130point.com. That's 130point.com. If you go to their site, you click on all marketplace sales, and let's type in the same thing. Shohei all aces. This not only checks eBay, it also checks some of the other auction sites. I don't think this card probably is big enough that it went on another auction site, but let's scroll through here real quick. No, it's all eBay. All right. Now, the important part here is that this shows that sale yesterday for the sale price of the buy it now, which was $20. So this is more accurate than what eBay lists on their own site. And that is, I don't know, that's weird to me. I'm not really sure why they would do that. The only drawback to this, and really any other online tool, which I guess would be all of them, is that often, mm, sometimes at card shows, the Wi-Fi is not great. The cell reception, and there may or may not be Wi-Fi. So looking up a card on the fly is sometimes difficult. It is a good idea at card shows to know what cards you're looking for and what price you want to pay before you go in. I realize that's not always possible. Sometimes you're going to have to use this, but sometimes it won't work. That's just the way it is. For people that want to pay for subscriptions, there's really two other sites that people use that I'm aware of. There may be more. I know there are more that are pretty inaccurate. I used a couple when I first came back into the hobby. I know there's some apps where you can scan a card and do that, but I've never found anything that was very accurate doing that. I'm not going to list them here, but there are other sites out there. These are the ones that I've heard of that people use at card shows. I don't know how prevalent it is, but I know some people use them. So the first one is Market Movers. Market Movers. Market Movers is a paid monthly subscription. You can see the fees here. In my opinion, so first of all, Market Movers is owned by Sports Card Investor. That is Jeff Wilson. Probably one of the biggest figures in the hobby, in the modern hobby. I don't find the pricing here very good. So really, you can track a collection, um, which is a good feature. You can track a sealed and card collection, but it looks like for $9.99 you get 25 cards, and you can't put sealed in there. For $24.99 a month, you can do 250 cards and sealed. And for $50 a month, you get unlimited cards and sealed. That seems like a very, very egregious price to me. I have absolutely never signed up for this. I don't ever plan on signing up for it. But I know a lot of people use it. I find that pricing not great at all, to be honest. Maybe totally worth it, just not something I'm willing to do. All right, so the next one is Card Ladder. I will put the links to these in the show description below, so you can check them out yourself. So the Card Ladder Pro is, I think both of those sites are apps and websites. Actually, 130 Point has an app too, but I have never used it. I just use the site. At any rate, so it's essentially got a free tier and a pro tier, and the pro is $20 a month. And it gives you all this stuff. It gives you the price guide, showcase, some sort of hobby news feed, daily sales recap, indexes, sales history. You can store your collection. I don't know if you can do sealed on here too. I assume so, but I don't know. You can obviously look up comps, things like that. The interesting part about Card Ladder Pro is that for the high tier of the PSA yearly membership, you get a subscription to Card Ladder Pro for free. I have not done the high tier for PSA card membership. In fact, I may not renew my normal one this year just because the last few months, because they've been backed up, they haven't done any specials, and I I can get cards graded cheaper than their normal prices at other places, right? I can do it through ComC, I can do it through GameStop if I want to. So if they're not giving me specials, I don't really feel that I need to pay that money. Regardless, if I decide to do it again, I will go with the pro membership and I will get Card Ladder Pro and I'll do a video sort of reviewing that. I know a lot of people use Card Ladder Pro because I know a lot of people do the PSA high tier, and a lot of dealers at shows will be using Card Ladder Pro for pricing. Essentially, it's going to give you the same data. It's going to pull from eBay. It's going to pull from auctions. You're going to get the same stuff that you get on 130 Point. Maybe in prettier format or something. Maybe some historical stuff a little better, like graphs, but it's the same data. So you can check comps that way. All right. So that's generally where people get comps. So before we get into pricing, I just want to ask that if you like the content, please subscribe, click the like button. It's free and it helps get this video seen by more people. Now I want to talk about pricing differences on different platforms. I'm going to go through the three that I use most often. There are many platforms on which you can buy cards, such as your local card shop. You can buy it on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Reddit, private sales. You can do it from all sorts of online sources. eBay, you can do, eBay is the most popular, but there's ComC. There are probably a lot of others that I'm not aware of. You know, my Discord server has a group where you can buy and sell cards. You can buy and sell cards anywhere. So what I'm going to show you is not an exhaustive list. Um, that's a big thing to understand here. Cards sell all the time at a lot of places, and those sales are not necessarily figured into what most people will figure as comps. If you're using eBay for comps and you're selling cards at card shows, buying cards at card shows, it may be that those numbers are off. So I'm going to give you some examples here. So let's go back to the that Shohei All Aces card. I picked this card because I saw it at a card show recently. I know generally what it goes for on eBay, and I saw an egregious sale on Whatnot the other day. So that's a pretty it's a pretty probably a large percentage of sales will be through eBay, card shows, and Whatnot. Um, Again, not all, but this is going to be a majority of them. So let's take a look back at that Shohei Ohtani All Aces. So if we look here, this PSA 9 is 45. One sold for about 30. One sold for 20. Wait, let's use 130 Point. One sold for 20 yesterday, 31, 25, 22, 160 and a 10, 26, 29. So, we can add those up and it'll be, 20, to 30 is the average, right? Somewhere in there. We can figure it all out. We can math that all out. I'm not going to. So 20 to 30 is an average. I was at a card show yesterday, a local card show here in Ohio, but a large one. It's a monthly one. It's in Xenia, Ohio. Xenia. I don't know how to pronounce it. At a fairgrounds, and it is in the summer. It's probably 150 tables, but in the spring, when card shows are really the thing, um, it is 300 tables, maybe more. They've expanded to 4 buildings, I think, during the peak times. So it's a large card show. I didn't check a bunch of places, but I did see it at a dealer table, and it was $50. Okay. Again, that's a dealer. It may be that I could negotiate that down to the comp price. I don't know. I didn't try. I'm not looking to buy this card right now. I actually owned this card. I got a PSA 10 on it, and I sold it. Before I was kind of an Ohtani collector. I knew that a lot of people liked Ohtani stuff. So when I was grading to get some of my grading money back for my PC stuff, I would send in cards that I knew I could sell fairly easily. And this was one of them. I regret that decision now that I'm an Ohtani guy. And I would like that back. I may buy one. We'll see. So we can see that it's $20 to $30 here. We can see that I saw it for $50 at a card show yesterday. And 3 days ago on Whatnot, one sold for $95. It was not a parallel. It was not a graded card. So those are big ranges, right? Let's look at one more, right? So I do a lot of stuff on ComC. So if we go to ComC and we do Shohei, all aces. All right, so the only raw one for sale, there's 12 of them. We can dive into this a little deeper here. There's 12 of them for sale. The cheapest one is $41.87. It's on a 25% off sale today. Then there are, they start at 56. So that's, slightly higher than card show prices. I'm going to talk about ComC a little bit more in depth here in a minute, but I find that for the most part, cards can go for a lot less on ComC, especially lower end cards. Um, let's say base rookies that are fairly popular for football or basketball, something like that. If you're like, hey, I don't want to bother selling this on eBay, I'm not going to sell it at a card show. I'm just going to throw it up on ComC. Well, you and 50 other people think the same way. And you get your card listed there, and there are 168 other people with the same card listed, and it just becomes an undercut fest. So it will be, in general, that card will be uh, a lot cheaper on ComC just because of all the undercutting than it would be, at a card show on eBay, anything like that. Just a little into the different pricing on different platforms there. So what I really wanted to get up across in this section is that prices vary from platform to platform. Absolutely, standard comps are eBay, but there are if I buy that same Shohei card for $145 at a card show tomorrow, that's the latest comp. It's not going to be a counted comp. It's not going to be one you're going to be able to see, but in reality, that's the latest comp for that card. So we'll never have the complete picture of every card sold anywhere. So again, we don't have the complete picture, but we use eBay as comps. That's basically what this boils down to. All right. So the next part is something I'm gonna, for the most part, talk about card shows. Uh, but it happens online all the time. It can happen on eBay. It can happen on ComC. It definitely happens on other platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and that's negotiations. Uh, so on eBay, if there's a buy it now, a lot of times you can make an offer, right? So somebody has that Shohei card for sale for $24, right? A guy asked, "Hey, will you take 20?" And the seller said yes. So that's what it sold for, $20. At card shows, I find most of the time that if you make a reasonable offer, you can come to a price point. I don't buy high end cards. I don't spend $1,000 on a single card or something, so I don't know what the big high end negotiations are like. But for the low end stuff, I generally get a couple cards. I see what they want for them, and I say, "Hey, will you take $5 less or whatever?" And I feel good about the transaction. They feel good about the transaction. End of story. Sometimes, and I've run into this personally at a card show. So I collect Shohei Ohtani um, Project 70 cards. I want to get the full set of Otanis. I've got about 30% of them right now. I find one or two of them every card show, and it's about a 50-50 shot usually as to whether I have that card or not. So I went to a card show. Uh, it was the Midwest Monster, which is in Indianapolis, a fairly big show. And I found a guy. I don't think he was a dealer. I think he was just a guy set up. I found a guy who had two of the cards that I wanted that I don't have, and they were going for about $22 to $25 on eBay. I grabbed both of them, and I said, "Will you do 40 for both?" And he kind of gets offended, and he picked the one up and he said, "This is a card that sells for $100 all the time." And I just looked up the comps. It doesn't sell anywhere near $100. He says, "I see it all the time at card shows for $100. I bought it for $100. No way I'm selling it for that cheap." Okay, whatever. However, the way he sort of went about it, and acted like I was sort of an idiot for offering that little, sort of made me a little angry. And I in the card show right there, I popped up eBay. I saw buy it now for 24.99, and I hit buy it now. I wasn't going to buy that card normally off eBay. I would buy it at a card show, but I was like, "Look, if he wants $100 for it and I can get it for $24 plus tax and shipping, I'm going to do that right now." It just makes no sense to stand your ground on something like that when there are buy it nows on eBay for much, much cheaper. So that's something you'll need to look out for when you're at a card show. It's not something that happens often, but it's certainly something somebody will have a price and they'll stick to their guns. And again, he can sell that card for whatever he wants for it. He's never going to sell that card at $100. Um, that may be fine with him. It's just that it's just the way he went about it is all. Anyway, so that's a personal experience there for card show negotiation type stuff. So again, you can look up comps and see if you want to offer a lower price than what the vendor is currently at. I find most people at card shows have their cards priced above what a comparable would be, a comp would be. I think most people expect you to negotiate down. That's something I'm not super comfortable doing. I'm not a big confrontational type guy. So it was something that it sort of got me out of my comfort zone to do that, which probably is a good thing. And another example is you see a card that is $120 at a card show. You look up all the comps and it looks like it's selling for about $100. You can say something like, "Hey, I looked it up. This sells for about $100, but it's comped at about $100. Um, you know, I can do 90. Is that something you'd be willing to accept?" They've got three choices. They can accept your offer, they can decline without a counteroffer, or they can counteroffer. I find most dealers will counter, and he'd probably say something like $95. Then the ball's in my court. I accept, I decline, I counter. Uh, for the most part, most deals I see, it's an offer, counter offer, accept. For the most part. Again, either side can walk away from those deals at any point. And the bigger, the more cards you throw in, um, I find the more cards you throw in on a specific buy, the better kind of deal you can get cut. What's important to note here is that the dealer and the buyer are agreeing that this is the sale price of that card at that time. Comps, that if in a perfect world, that would be the newest comp, right? That $95 would be the newest comp on that card. Again, it's not a recorded transaction, so it doesn't fall into the comp category. All right, so the last part here, I'm just going to talk about my final thoughts. Always take into account as a buyer or seller the fees you incur for using the platform that you do. For example, on eBay, a buyer will pay sales tax and shipping. A seller can also incur fees like extra insurance for shipping that they may not have charged for if it's a large card. They also incur a fee to eBay or to ComC or to whatever platform they're selling on, a table fee at a show. Those are costs that are part of what you should consider when you're buying and selling a card. So really, in the long run, what I'm trying to get across is yes, everybody has sort of a standard they're using for comps. But the reality is, card will go for whatever the price the two parties agree to on whatever platform they're using, whether they're in person at a card show, on ComC, on eBay, on Facebook, on Instagram, on wherever. That's the price of the card. Whether that lines up with current comps or not, that's it's not always the case. So anyway, I just wanted to sort of give um, my opinion on comps, sort of educate you on what comps are, and I hope you found this helpful. If you are new to this channel, please click subscribe. I always appreciate a like on my videos. Certainly, if you have something to say, ask me a question, anything like that, go ahead and put it in the comments. I hope you have a great day. I will talk to you later. Thanks.